Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in on this Thursday. Thankful Thursday, by the way. Hey, send me a quick text or email me, joe@joeyhudson.com, about something that you're thankful for today. A U.S. House panel has voted to subpoena Bill and Hillary Clinton over their reported Epstein ties. This could get interesting. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, isn't letting go of what could be one of the most explosive revelations in recent memory about the intelligence community and its role in the Trump-Russia collusion narrative. This story is just not going away anytime soon. Setting up what could be the next major battle before the U.S. Supreme Court, a federal appeals court yesterday ruled that President Trump's executive order seeking to end automatic birthright citizenship for children born to illegal and temporary immigrants is unconstitutional. And Pat McAfee, the popular ESPN host, offered an apology to Mary-Kate Cornett during his Wednesday show 5 months after he brought up a rumored scandal involving the 18-year-old Ole Miss student. We have all the details for that. It's another busy day, so let's jump right in.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
A House Oversight Subcommittee yesterday approved a motion to subpoena former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, along with several former top law enforcement officials, over potential links to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell. The motion offered by Representative Scott Perry from Pennsylvania was passed by a voice vote, meaning that no roll call was recorded. It now falls to Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer to officially issue the subpoenas. Perry said before listing the Clintons and former Justice Department heads James Comey, Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, Merrick Garland, Robert Mueller, William Barr, Jeff Sessions, and Alberto Gonzalez, he said, I have a motion to subpoena the following individuals to expand the full committee's investigation into Ms. Maxwell. According to an House Oversight aide, the subpoenas will be issued, quote, in the near future. Now, the move comes amid growing frustration, of course, among Republican lawmakers and conservative voters over the lack of transparency surrounding the Epstein case. This is another one that just won't go away. The Department of Justice recently issued the controversial memo effectively closing the case, prompting bipartisan backlash. A lot of people saying, what just happened? And why can't we hear all the details and see all the folders, all the files? As President Trump's, at President Trump's direction, I should say, Attorney General Pam Bondi is now working to unseal grand jury files and examine whether Ms. Maxwell is willing to cooperate with federal investigators. The DOJ under Trump has also ramped up scrutiny of figures once believed to be off limits, including former top officials from the Obama and Bush administrations. It appears no one is immune from this. If you had a link to Jeffrey Epstein, I think they're going to be asking you some questions. Now, earlier this week, the committee unanimously approved a motion to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell, which Comer followed up by issuing a subpoena the very next day. Representative Summer Lee, a Democrat from Pennsylvania and a member of the far-left squad, also pushed a motion to subpoena all files related to Epstein, which passed in an 8-2 vote. Now, he wasn't trying to do this to show his bipartisan cooperation. He has an ulterior motive. Republicans added an amendment via Representative Andy Biggs that expanded the request to include the Biden administration communications as well. That amendment complicates the Democrats' message, which signals that transparency demands must apply across administrations, not just targeting Trump's DOJ, not just targeting Obama either, but all of them. Bill Clinton's connection to Epstein has long raised eyebrows. Clinton flew on Epstein's private jet multiple times and visited his private island, all while denying any wrongdoing. We know what that means for Bill Clinton. We've heard Bill Clinton deny any wrongdoing in the past, haven't we? Hillary Clinton, who served as Obama's Secretary of State, has never publicly commented in detail on Epstein's death or Maxwell's arrest. Now both Clintons may be forced to answer questions under oath. Wouldn't you have loved to have been a fly on the wall in the Clinton dining room after this was disclosed? What does Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton talk about if they're both subpoenaed to testify to the House Oversight Committee about Jeffrey Epstein? So what's next? The subpoenas are not yet formally issued. Chairman Comer is expected to move forward. If so, it would mark the most aggressive effort yet to hold high-profile Democrats accountable. At the same time, the House GOP is under pressure from its base, of course, to deliver real answers, especially after the years of delays, sealed records, speculation about powerful elites shielded from the scrutiny. They got to come forward. They got to let us look at everything so that we can make up our own minds about what happened. Just that simple. And I think that's going to happen. Meanwhile, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard isn't letting go of what could be one of the most explosive revelations as well inside of the intelligence community. And this time, of course, it's about the Trump-Russia collusion narrative. In an interview this week with Jesse Waters, Ms. Gabbard stood firm. She says that senior Obama administration officials politicized intelligence after the 2016 election to lay the groundwork for what she calls a years-long coup against President Donald Trump.
Well, as you know, Jesse, the integrity of our democratic republic, of our elections, is of paramount importance to the American people. Knowing what had occurred previously, the things, this Russia hoax thing that was called a conspiracy, I wanted to get to the bottom of the truth of what actually happened here. This was obviously important to President Trump, but again, is an issue of importance to every single American in this country and the future of our country as a republic. So shortly after coming into this position as Director of National Intelligence, I formed a special team to investigate this issue. I got to tell you, it wasn't easy. There were a lot of deep state obstacles that exist still within the intelligence community. But ultimately, we had a whistleblower who came forward that brought some critical pieces to this story. And we were able to discover these documents and find these documents that really pointed to President Obama directing his national security leaders in James Clapper and John Brennan to manufacture this January 2017 intelligence community assessment. The investigation that I led at ODNI that we released last week, Friday, provided a lot of those foundational building blocks and proof for what we know happened. The report that we released today, the House Intelligence Committee Oversight Majority Staff report that investigated that January 2017 assessment that President Obama had manufactured with fake intelligence in order to achieve, knowingly using false intelligence in order to get to the conclusion that he wanted to promote to the American people that Putin had acted in favor of President Trump winning that election in 2016. The report we released today, line by line, goes through it, dissecting and debunking the knowing falsehoods and lies that were included in that assessment with the specific intent to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump, to subvert the will of the American people who had just voted to elect Donald Trump in 2016, and to, in essence, launch this years-long coup against President Trump that lasted throughout the 4 years of his administration back in 2016.
Now, you tell me, does that sound like someone who's going to back down? Who's going to just say, oh, okay, nothing here, we're going to move on? She welcomed the Justice Department's recent creation of a strike force to comb through this intelligence, calling it the next step towards justice. That announcement, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi, signals that this isn't going away quietly. These two ladies, hopefully, are going to dig in, and they're going to work on this, and we're going to find out exactly what happened on the Russiagate as well. Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. We love to get information. We like to share information. And with the internet, it's so easy to do just that. There's lots of sources out there on social media, whether it's TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or whatever, Truth Social. A lot of information out there, and you just have to really be careful to confirm that it is true and accurate before you start sharing it and spreading it. And it's a reminder to me, as someone who has a platform. I sit down in front of this microphone most every day and talk with you about various issues, political issues, news stories. And I try to make sure that I verify everything. And when in doubt, sometimes I just don't even talk about it. Because sometimes when you get on the mic and you say something that seems harmless in the moment, just another internet story, viral gossip, making the rounds, but yet it's affecting somebody's life. And every once in a while, that story isn't what it seems. And when that happens, if you're someone with a platform, you've got a responsibility to own it. And that's exactly what happened with Pat McAfee this week. On yesterday's episode of the Pat McAfee Show, McAfee issued a heartfelt apology, live, unfiltered, and honest, to a young woman named Mary Kate Cornett. She's an 18-year-old student at Ole Miss. 5 months ago, her name got swept up in a nasty, baseless internet rumor that spiraled out of control quickly, like it can often do. Mr. McAfee was one of the people who, knowingly or not, helped amplify that rumor during a segment at the NFL Combine back in February. Now, let's be real here. It was the kind of thing that explodes online before anyone really stops to ask if it's really true. And Pat admitted that. On his show, he said plainly, "We weren't clear at the time where the story originated from. It was all over the internet, but I have since learned that the story was not true." You could hear it in his voice. You could see it on his face. He knew that he had messed up. He acknowledged that what his show said, even if it was just echoing what was out there and others were saying, caused real harm to a real person. Now, here's the part that matters most. He didn't just read a statement or post something on social media and move on. Pat McAfee took the time to meet with Mary Kate and her family in person. He looked them in the eye and he owned it. And for a guy with his kind of reach, that's no small thing. It was the right thing to do, and he should have done it. But quite often, people like him just don't do it. He said on air, quote, "I got a chance to sincerely apologize to them and acknowledge that what I said about Mary Kate was based solely on what others were saying on the internet. We had no personal knowledge about Mary Kate or her personal life." Now, simply put, that's accountability. That's accepting your actions and the responsibility of your actions. Now, Mary Kate and her family, by the way, did not take this lightly. They denied the salacious rumor, which claimed falsely that she had been involved in a relationship with her boyfriend's father, and they went on the offensive. The family hired attorneys, forensic investigators. They filed reports with campus police and even involved the FBI. They weren't just trying to clear her name. They were trying to put a stop to this machine that turns people's lives into clickbait, and they can do it overnight. She even publicly called out Pat McAfee. She called out Antonio Brown and Barstool Sports. Now, Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy pushed back, saying it never appeared on their official channels. Now, McAfee had previously made some vague references to the incident during his live show in Pittsburgh back in the spring. Until now, he had not addressed Mary Kate by name. This week, he did. And as a dad himself, you could tell that it hit home. In fact, he said, "As a girl dad, I was very thankful for the opportunity to let Mr. Cornett know that I was wildly regretful for the part that our show played in his daughter's pain." He went on to explain why it took so long to address this publicly. He talked about how there were legal matters behind the scenes, and of course, more importantly, he didn't want to say something until he spoke to the family directly, he said. And that's an important detail. It's not about saving face, or it doesn't appear to be. It's about facing the people whom you have wronged. And here's one thing. Pat McAfee isn't pretending to be perfect. He said, "I deeply regret all the pain that this caused. I hated watching what our show was a part of." Now, that's how you talk when you realize that what you said into a mic didn't just hit airwaves. It hit a real person. It hit real people. It hit a family and affected all of them. Now, whether you're a Pat McAfee fan or not, you got to admire this. He made a mistake. He owned up to it. He took responsibility, and he apologized. And, kudos to the family, too, for accepting the apology, for allowing that conversation to take place. Because quite often, people who have been wronged like that, they're hurt so badly, they don't want to confront the person who's caused the pain. McAfee closed with something very simple, but very important, saying, "We don't always get it right, but we'll never stop trying." Now, that's the takeaway here. We live in an era where rumors spread faster than facts. Anybody can start something on social media now, and it can just balloon out of control overnight, literally, within hours. So remember that. Because I certainly am. I'm taking note as someone who has a microphone. Certainly not as big of an audience as Pat McAfee, but still, you could still affect someone's life just on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. So let us all learn from Pat McAfee. This story should be a reminder to everybody. You don't have to be a radio host, a podcaster. You don't have to be a journalist, an influencer. You don't need to amplify everything you see online is the point here. And if you're not sure it's real, maybe just don't say it at all. Don't hit that share button. Don't comment on it. Don't encourage others to do so either. Because on the other side of that post, that tweet, that clip, that joke is someone like Mary Kate Cornett, a real person, someone who didn't ask to be dragged into a viral rumor mill, someone with a family, a future, a name. Good on McAfee for owning up. That's what men do, and hopefully others are paying attention. On the text line, Tony writes, "Hey, Joey, sorry to disappoint you, but it doesn't matter how many politicians' name is sent to Pam Bondi. As long as she's in charge, Ms. Spineless Wonder will not prosecute one single politician." Maybe so, Tony. I don't know. But based on the information that the National Intelligence Office is coming out of Tulsi Gabbard, she's going to get an opportunity real soon to prosecute someone. I guess we'll find out what Miss Bondi really is made of pretty quickly, right? Texter, sales tax on personal property and property tax on homes should not exist. After busting my hump for 30 years to pay off my house, I should not have to continue to pay rent on it to the government, who in return allow me to continue owning it. Nor should I have to pay them a cut of the money when I sell my property in order to be allowed to sell it. You're so right. And President Trump indicating that he is pushing an effort to eliminate the capital gains tax on the sale of your homes, which would be huge if this were to happen. Look, you should, everybody who hears this today should take a moment, either call or email your U.S. congressman, your U.S. senator, and, hey, call the White House and let the president know, hey, we're supporting you 100%, Mr. President. Please continue to do this. This would be so big if we could eliminate the capital gains tax on the sale of our homes. We'll continue to follow that one for sure. Scott in Toccoa writes, "Is it just me that I find it interesting that when the White House is pushed on the Epstein client list, all of a sudden we're being fed this Russia drama with Obama? Distractions, maybe?" Scott, you think that's it? You think they're trying to get us off track here? Look, there's so much going on right now between the Epstein files and the Russia gate. Look, it's going to be a busy few months for sure. Hey, appreciate the text, Scott. A federal appeals court yesterday ruled that President Trump's executive order seeking to end automatic birthright citizenship for children born to illegal and temporary immigrants is unconstitutional. This is going to set up what could be the next major battle before the U.S. Supreme Court. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, known for its liberal leanings, no surprise there, upheld a lower court decision that had already blocked the Trump administration from enforcing the order nationwide. Just another example of these rogue activist judges trying to interfere with the mandate that the American people gave to Donald Trump. The ruling continues to tie the hands of federal immigration authorities, keeping intact a policy that many legal scholars and conservative lawmakers have long argued is outdated, misinterpreted, and a magnet for abuse. Of course it is. Of course it is. When you send the message out to a young lady in South America, for example, that all she has to do is have 1 foot on American soil, have a baby, and that baby is a citizen, what do you think that invites? It was a 2-1 decision. The court claimed the executive order conflicted with the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause, which wrote the majority, Judge Michael Hawkins and Ronald Gould, both appointed by Bill Clinton, by the way. The district court correctly concluded that the executive order's proposed interpretation denying citizenship to many persons born in the United States is unconstitutional. We fully agree. Judge Patrick Bumate, appointed by President Trump, issued a strong dissent. He argued that the plaintiff states, which include Washington, Oregon, Illinois, and Arizona, did not have standing to bring the case and warned against a growing trend of courts using so-called universal injunctions to override federal policy. They just don't get it, do they? I mean, the U.S. Supreme Court has already been heard about these injunctions by these lower courts to stop a national action like this by the president. Judge Bumate wrote, "We should approach any request for universal relief with good faith skepticism. The invocation of complete relief shouldn't be a backdoor to nationwide injunctions," which is exactly what these rogue judges are doing. And these liberal legal groups who are bringing these actions know this. They know where to file these actions. They judge shop. He also noted that that did not weigh in on the core constitutional issue, whether ending birthright citizenship would violate the 14th Amendment, leaving that question still very much in play. What is that question? Well, at the center of this legal battle is how we interpret the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment. Here's what the clause says. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Now, the Trump administration and a lot of conservative groups has maintained that the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof means more than simply being physically present on U.S. soil. In other words, illegal immigrants and foreign nationals in the U.S. temporarily, such as tourists, students, or foreign diplomats, do not meet the full criteria. The logic behind this, they owe allegiance to another country, and they're not fully under U.S. jurisdiction in the same way citizens and legal permanent residents are. Not to mention those who purposely come here to have a baby. DOJ attorneys reiterated that argument in this case, saying that the Constitution does not promise automatic citizenship to the children of illegal immigrants just because they were born here. And we're the only country in the world who allows this. No other country allows a mother to come to their country, have a baby, just so that baby can be a citizen of that country. Now, the states challenging the executive order, they're primarily blue states, Democrat run, they reject that interpretation. They leaned on a 126-year-old Supreme Court case known as United States versus Wong Kim Ark, literally dated 1898, in which the court ruled that a child born in San Francisco to Chinese parents was a U.S. citizen by birth. However, the facts of that case differ substantially from modern immigration realities. The Chinese parents in that case were lawful permanent residents at a time when Chinese immigrants faced heavy legal discrimination. Legal scholars on both sides acknowledge that the Wong Kim Ark case did not address the status of children born to illegal aliens because at the time there was no such legal category. The current interpretation of the 14th Amendment, many conservatives argue, is based on bureaucratic assumptions and not constitutional law. I think we can all agree on that. President Trump's executive order was a very simple attempt to force the legal system, knowing that eventually the Supreme Court will have to step in to finally address the question that many believe Congress and the courts have long dodged. And that question is very simple. Does the 14th Amendment truly require the United States to grant citizenship to children born to people here illegally or temporarily? I would argue, no, it does not. I think you probably would agree, too. Hey, if you disagree, text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com on your thinking here, your argument. Why would you say that they should be citizens? Supporters of the order argue that the U.S. is one of the only developed nations that still offers unconditional birthright citizenship. They believe it's led to the rise of birth tourism. Just like I said a minute ago, people come here to have their babies because they want their child to be an American citizen with all the benefits that entails. It incentivizes illegal border crossings by pregnant women is what it does. This creates automatic anchors in the U.S. system that were never envisioned by the Constitution, the framers of our Constitution. They never dreamed this would happen. Now, opponents of President Trump call it anti-immigrant or xenophobic, but conveniently ignore the very real economic and legal strain caused by the current policy. We're all having to pay for this. So, now that two federal courts, New Hampshire and the Ninth Circuit, have blocked the order, the next step is likely to be an expedited appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. I expect that to happen within days. The court, which in recent years has become more skeptical of sweeping executive actions, especially those that claim to be grounded in outdated interpretations of the Constitution, could decide to take the case as soon as this term. They could take it before they wrap up the year. Trump has made it clear he's willing to take this fight all the way. For conservatives, this isn't just about immigration. It's about restoring constitutional clarity and stopping the judicial overreach of these rogue judges. I think they've met their match. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Well, it looks like Columbia University cried Uncle Don, that is. The university announced yesterday it has agreed to pay a $200 million fine and take a series of actions to settle the Trump administration allegations concerning discrimination and harassment of Jewish students on campus. This deal ends the freeze on federal research funding that got Columbia's attention real quick. They said the deal restores the vast majority of the $400 million in funding suspended in the spring after campus protest over the Israel-Hamas war, the Washington Post reporting yesterday. Acting President Claire Shipman said this agreement marks an important step forward after a period of sustained federal scrutiny and institutional uncertainty. So basically, they agreed to pay $200 million to get the $400 million federal funding that they were expecting anyway. Columbia also will promise to follow laws against considering race in admissions and hiring decisions, as well as stick to other agreements that it made in March to combat anti-Semitism and the unrest they were seeing on their campus, this according to the New York Times. An independent monitor approved by the university and the Trump administration will oversee compliance and report every 6 months on their progress. The agreement closes several civil rights investigations into the New York University's actions. White House officials called it a historic settlement that will restore fairness, merit, and safety in higher education. It just warms my heart to see a group like this bow to President Donald Trump. He told them that he was going to force their hand. They didn't believe it, and he did it. And look, did some good in it along the way. They won't be allowing those radicals to close down their campus anymore. They won't be allowing those radical leftists to take over buildings on their campus. I mean, they should not have been, it shouldn't have come to this. The adults on that campus should have known at the very beginning, you can't allow people to protest and to harass Jewish students on this campus. And you certainly can't allow them to literally close down the campus. And that's what they did. some of the Israel-hating groups closed the campus back in the spring. You may recall they were right in the middle of final exams, and some of the kids had to take the exams virtual because there was so much chaos on the campus. And the schools, the adult leaders allowed it to happen. Well, Trump put a stop to that. He called them out. And yes, cost them $200 million. But hopefully it's more than just the money. It's they learn from this, and they will truly change how they treat Jewish students on campus. We'll see. In another legal action, Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer led a legal brief signed by 17 other Republican attorney generals, including Alan Wilson of South Carolina, that urges the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn a case in which 2 Christian schools were barred from offering a prayer over a stadium loudspeaker before a high school football championship game. Here's the story. The case arose from a 2015 game between Cambridge Christian School, which is a private Christian school in West Tampa, Florida, and University Christian School in Jacksonville, Florida. The Florida High School Athletic Association banned the schools from reciting a prayer over the loudspeaker, saying that it would violate the Establishment Clause in the Constitution's First Amendment, which has been interpreted as a ban on government endorsing one religion over others. The teams did pray on the field, but it wasn't audible to the crowd, leading Cambridge Christian School to sue the Athletic Association, which comprises member public and private schools and is authorized by the Florida legislature to oversee school sports. The case has bounced around the courts between the U.S. District Court for Middle District of Florida, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit over the past decade. A 3-judge 11th Circuit panel sided with the Sports Association last year, prompting the appeal by Cambridge Christian to the U.S. Supreme Court now. Uthmeyer and his fellow Republican attorneys general argued that Cambridge Christian's proposed pregame prayer should have provoked no objections about violating the Establishment Clause. They contend the lower appeals court erred by invoking the Supreme Court's 2000 decision in Santa Fe Independent School District versus Doe, which they insist was wrongly decided and should be overruled. This is a case that hopefully the court will take up, and they will once and for all settle the idea that it's okay to pray. You can pray publicly. You can pray on at a high school football game. The Attorney General said in a press release, the Constitution does not require state-sponsored hostility toward religion, especially not in a moment as meaningful as pregame prayer. We're urging the court to correct this misinterpretation and ensure that students do not have to hide their faith on the playing field. In 2022, you may recall, the U.S. Supreme Court sided with a football coach in Washington State, ruling that his prayers on the 50-yard line after games were protected by the First Amendment. You probably remember that case. We talked about it quite a bit during that time. This coach would lead a prayer after the games. Nobody had to attend. Nobody had to participate. But the kids on the team always knew that that's where they would meet after the game. And they did it, and they loved it. Then someone objected, and the coach lost his job. He was fired because he was told not to do it, and he did it anyway. The Supreme Court sided with him, and he got his job back years later. Should have never gone to that. People should not be afraid to pray. They shouldn't have to lose their jobs to pray. And it's certainly okay to pray prior to a football game. Pray for the kids' safety, if nothing else. Other officials who have filed amicus briefs in this Florida case in support of Cambridge Christian School includes former University of Florida star quarterback Tim Tebow. Former Clemson University football coach Tommy Bowden is also joining the case as a friend of the court. And former Florida Speaker of the House Will Weatherford. There's a whole list of other attorneys general who have signed a brief: Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, and as I mentioned, Alan Wilson from South Carolina has signed on this as well. And good for him. Good for all of these attorneys general, and good for people like Tommy Bowden and Tim Tebow, who are standing up for prayer. You agree that that these prayers should be allowed before a football game or any place? This case involves football, but that should be true on any school activity, a baseball game, school dances, student government assemblies. Wherever the kids come together, they should be allowed to pray if they choose to do so. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Text me. You can also leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com, and you get the very best deal that Mike Lindell can offer you. Promo code Joey at MyPillow.com. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.